What's up, everyone? Adam Gelman here. We have one more awesome conversation that we wanted to put out here before we start heading into some of the content we're building around the middle of the card year and some of the upcoming products, whether it's Revolution or Select, which are on the horizon as we've seen with Panini. I've got my partner in crime here, Ryan Shear. How you doing, Ryan?
Doing wonderful. How's everybody doing out there?
So today we wanted to talk about the transition from Panini to Fanatics. This is a really interesting situation. I don't think this has ever happened in the hobby before, where a new license starts and the day it starts, the license is announced that it is going to be ending. Have you ever seen anything like this?
No, it's never, as far as I know, it's never happened.
So what we know is that Panini's WWE license started January 1st, 2022. Traditionally goes 3 years. It may go 4 years. We don't have hardline information, but we do know that Fanatics is now the exclusive memorabilia and trading card provider for WWE. They've taken over WWEshop.com, which is the main source of WWE shirts and everything there. What is your sort of reaction when you saw that sort of go down? Like, when you saw that this was coming back to Fanatics, how did you approach it?
You start thinking about all the products that we haven't had for the last couple of years, and all the products that we probably should have had, in that 2015 to 2021 range that we just never saw. And so you start thinking about, well, all right, if you start connecting the dots, if Fanatics has Tops and Fanatics has WWE, are we getting Chrome back again? And Chrome is always the big question. It's the big
That's the
question.
main draw. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's the only set anybody cares about. Yeah.
it's the big question in football when they take over football, basketball, baseball. Topps Chrome is always the number one question. But what happens now? Because I firmly believe that Fanatics is going to take over Panini. I think that at the end of the day,
Yeah.
they're going to have Panini. They're going to have Panini's intellectual property. But what are they going to put out? And can we live in a world? Is there a world where Prism and Topps Chrome can be brothers in arms? So we're going to see it because it's going to happen. So you start
I
thinking
see,
about
and
all the possibilities, basically.
that's a really interesting sort of situation because we know that Fanatics. Here's all the things that Fanatics has now taken over. There was an announcement that they had started their own breaking platform. So basically, Fanatics has their own whatnot. We've also seen that they've cut off all relationships with every distributor that's out there. They're now doing their own product distribution. So GTS, Peach State, all the card distributors no longer have Topps products available to distribute. That's number two. Number three, they've acquired PWCC. So they have a vault and they now have sort of this auction and customer list from PWCC. Big deal there. They own all three of the major sports licenses: MLB, NFL, and NBA. Those are all starting at the latest in 2026. So the most profitable areas of the hobby: auction houses, breaking platforms, card licenses. Fanatics owns everything. They are now getting back WWE. And the only thing that really sort of surprises me is that Panini hasn't sold yet, because they've literally locked down everything but grading. Now, Michael Rubin has interests in a number of grading companies, from what I understand, but there is a consolidation plan here that's clearly in its final stages. And by the time the major sports licenses come on board, they're going to have everything. So what does Panini have left? And the answer is not much. And WWE is going to be one of those things that's going back to Fanatics. Now, you mentioned, now Fanatics equals Topps. We should explain that even though Fanatics owns the all of these things are going to be produced with the Topps branding associated with it. And we've seen that in basketball. We've seen that with Bowman University and some of the products that have been coming out there. We've already seen some football products coming out. So, like, because they've gotten this now, the college licenses as well. So in addition to all the major sports licenses, they now have NCAA as well. And I think that there's this really interesting sort of situation playing out. Like, can Panini survive? I'm not sure if they can.
No, they can't. They couldn't survive when they had the major sports far as I was told, they were losing money pretty handily every year. They overpaid for the football license pretty hard. Um, but they offset all their costs with the Italian sticker distribution.
Right,
So
exactly.
that's how they handle the losses in the American. They kind of just Peter Warsop, I think is the CEO. He
Mark
overbid on the
Warsaw, yeah.
license. Yeah, Mark Warsop. Sorry. He overbid on the license just to have it,
Yeah.
just because he could.
And
Which is
that and
not
when they
unheard of.
came in, and it's funny because when they came in 2009 and they took over Donruss Leaf Playoff, which was DLP, it's sort of that acronym that everybody knew. They were bringing stability to a very unstable market. Like Tops was on the
Agreed.
block, DLP was on the block, Fleer was bankrupt, Upper Deck was on their last legs. Like everything in the hobby in 2009 was on a downturn. That's not the case anymore. But, back then it was. So Panini came in with a ton of money because you mentioned the Italian sticker distribution, everything that Panini was about internationally gave them the funds to invest in the American market. They bought a company similar to the way the Fanatics did and brought stability there. Like that's really the Panini sort of game plan that Michael Rubin seems to be using. They went and bought exclusive license for basketball, which took it out of the hands of Upper Deck. It was hugely controversial, still to this day, because there's no
Yep.
Jordan, there's no LeBron. Like all of that was Upper Deck's like bread and butter was the NBA. Exquisite basketball still has iconic status in the hobby. It has been what now 13 years. Like all of this stuff is straight out of the playbook of Panini. Now being represented by Fanatics, only they're taking it a step further by peripheral businesses acquiring distribution, breaking platforms, everything. So I don't think that there's much left for Panini here. They've already Fanatics has even started taking their employees. So like they're like
Yeah.
picking off people. It's crazy to see. And I think here's what excites me. Regardless of what happens with Panini, I Topps Chrome, like you said, I'm just like everybody. Topps Chrome is my favorite product. I live for superfractors. It's the main thing that I chase. And to see that those might be coming back, 2024, 2026, like those things are exciting to me. It's also exciting that Transcendent could be coming back to WWE. That's a huge product. Finest is a big product. Like there are things that Topps did in those final 2 years of their license, 3 years of their license, that to this day drive me as a collector. So that's exciting for sure. And I loved what Topps did with Undisputed. I loved what Topps did with a number of the wrestling products that they put out. There's a huge collecting base of people that are out there. The difference is the audience was tremendously smaller. Would you agree?
Right. Absolutely, 100%. But that's the question that they have to ask themselves, is because they're going to come to a point where they're going to sit around a table and they're going to say, okay, we have Panini's licenses, we have our licenses, we have Tops, and now we need to just figure out what are we going to cut, what are we going to keep, what are we going to bring back. And right now, the wrestling market has what, 5 products, 6 products?
Seven. It's like yeah, 6 or 7 products.
Okay,
But
let's just say 6. Let's just say they have six
okay,
products. Fanatics can have a lot more than 6 products, people. A
yeah,
lot
their
more.
their license cost alone is going to be, and
Yeah.
I thought Panini paid a lot for the license because and that was another thing that I don't think is really public knowledge is that when Topps was making wrestling cards from 2004 5 ish all the way through to when they lost it last 2 years ago, like they weren't paying much for this WWE license. There was even discussion, rumblings around the hobby that Topps was just going to give up on the WWE license in 2019 because those products were garbage. But like, I think they realized that if we really sort of focus in and do the same things that we did in baseball and wrestling, things can bounce back. Now, Panini came in and just they spent triple to quadruple the amount of money on WWE that Topps did, and they had that money because of the boom. Like the boom happens, there's a bunch of shit going down. Everybody's making money, fucking hand over fist. Like they're like, well, we finally have some money to throw around. Let's just invest in every license we can. We're gonna get UFC, we're gonna get WWE, we're gonna get all these different things, and we're gonna pay a ton of money for it. Fanatics paid even more, I think, than that, which is crazy. So to think that there's only gonna be 5 or 6 products like it used to be with Tops, I think that's unrealistic.
No, it's not realistic because we're going to have 6 Chrome products to start.
Right.
I mean, really, we're going to have Prism. We're going to have Topps Chrome. We're going to have Topps Finest. We're going to have some kind of Finest flashbacks product. I guarantee it, where they're going to take wrestlers and put like Stone Cold
That would
Steve
be
Austin
cool though.
on a 94 design, which is going to
That would
be
be cool though.
really, that's going to be awesome, really popular. And we're going to have, are we going to have Bowman? Are we going to have like an NXT Bowman's best set? I mean, there's a
There's
lot
a
of
lot
things.
of there's a lot,
That's
yeah.
just that's just Chrome stock. That's
Yeah.
not talking about base tops versus Chronicles versus Transcendent versus Eminence. I mean, there's going to be some hard choices, and I think that they're going to add some stuff that people don't like, and they're definitely going to cut out some stuff that people don't like. Like I like Revolution. I think Revolution's a great product, but I could see that getting cut and left on the floor. You know,
Yeah, because I don't think,
so
but we're talking about this as if we're assuming that Panini is brought under the umbrella. I agree that that's probably an inevitability. Like I think that's a Thanos like sort of thing. Like get that
mhm.
last stone for the glove. But like to your point though, Tops's main selling point and has always been is the long history of their products.
Right.
Panini has always been we're going to use every part of the new technology to sell our stuff. And when they go throwback like they did in 2023 Prism, they only go back 10 years because that's all they've got. Like they came into this hobby around that time. Tops can go back to God to like 1952 and everybody has that iconic Mickey Mantle card in their head. That was a Tops card. And even before that, when we're looking at some of the things that they own with the Bowman license that went back even further before the first Top set. Like a lot of those things that Tops bring to the table, every major league Hall of Famer right now that is about to head into the Hall of Fame, they had Tops rookie cards. Tops has
Right.
been in an iconic state of sports cards for multiple decades, close to half a century at this point. And the history there to be brought to wrestling cards because wrestling has such a vast history and a rich history, using the Tops licenses to be able to depict that is a huge plus. The problem is most of the current hobby and those influencers, the investors, the money that Michael Rubin is hoping is going to come and buy these products is probably not going to follow a Topps product. They're going to follow the Panini stuff.
Right. And that's why you have to if you're Fanatics, in my opinion, you have to acquire Panini.
Mm-hmm.
You have to. You have to have both worlds, because there are camps that are strictly Panini and there are camps that are strictly Tops, and they don't necessarily want to dip into the other pool. You've got people like you and myself who are like, okay, both are fine, but you have to have just the variety. And if you acquire, if WWE goes to Tops without Panini, then they're going to obviously make Tops products that's going to, like you said, alienate the Panini collectors, because
And
now
there's a lot of
has
them. There's a
there
lot of
is,
them.
and they've been brought in by Prism, and they've been brought in by Impeccable, and now you're going to leave them high and dry in 2 years. So, and
I don't
people
think
are
that's
fickle.
realistic. Yeah.
No, but people are fickle, and so if, like, let's say in a couple of years they don't have the Panini license, and then there is no Impeccable, and there is no Prism. These people are just going to go to other stuff. They're going to move on to different stuff, and they're going to be jaded, and they're
Exactly
not going to
right.
want to deal with it.
Exactly right. And that's what I think people aren't understanding here. I loved the Tops 2013 to 2021 era. Like I so much of my collection in WWE is from that era. And I cannot wait for it to come back. But that era was built around a license that costs like 10% of what Fanatics is likely paying for it right now.
Yeah.
So in order for it to work, the people that came on during Panini, and there was a shit ton of people that came
Mhm.
on during the Panini era, they've got to replace them or they've got to bring back some of the things that those people will love. And that's going to be a really controversial take. I get that because people don't like Panini. There are people in wrestling cards who thought Panini ruined wrestling cards. It doesn't matter at this point because Rubin paid so much for this license, it has to go back that direction. And I think that's where this whole do they or don't they have Panini at their disposal is really going to be a key element. Because if they aren't able to bring Prism, if they aren't able to bring Immaculate, like everybody's going to cheer, like, oh, Prism's gone, all the influencers are gone, and blah, blah, blah. Like now they've got to fill that with something else because
Right.
this license costs as much as it does.
And that's the thing, is that Where are the expensive products at right now? They're in
It's
Panini.
all it's all Panini. Yeah,
It's all Panini. So if Fanatics wants to make their money back on wrestling, they have to have the high end. Eminence is like what, 20 grand a box, something like that.
it's a lot. It's a lot
I
of
mean,
money. Yeah.
I know for basketball it's like 30 or 40. So I'm gonna guess for wrestling it's gonna be 20. It'll be more than Transcendent.
Oh yeah, it will.
And so they have to have the high end stuff. The ultimate would be to acquire Upper Deck and bring back Exquisite. That would be
Oh, don't get me
because
started, man.
I know, and
I
I don't
would.
want to go off
I
topic.
would
I
love
mean,
that. Yeah.
people are still pining for Exquisite 13, 15 years after it went away. People are still looking for it. And like I think Fanatics is going to be able to do things that Tops and Panini were not able to do. I think they're going to get The Rock to sign autographs. I think that they're going
That's
to
the key, right?
yeah, I think that they have the star power, especially with the apparel and everything else. They're going to get The Rock to sign autographs. We're going to see a Rock Stone Cold Steve Austin dual autograph. We're going to, we're going to see cards that we thought, a year ago or 2 years ago would never happen. But they have to have everything. Like that's what I'm getting at. They have to have everything.
Yeah.
They have to have everything to satiate everybody
Yeah,
because
because of the cost of everything. Like the
right.
cost of doing business in this hobby has gone up. I posted an article on my site when this boom first started that the next battleground is going to be over the licenses, and sure enough, Fanatics just literally swooped in and took everything. But I'll tell you this: The Rock is the last unturned stone. No pun intended here. Is the
Right.
last unturned stone, and that's something that Panini really did great with. Is like for years and years, it was the same guys signing cards in WWE because Topps never invested to expand the checklist. Stone Cold signed for like one or two products. Vince McMahon signed one or two products. And like, but the guys like The Undertaker and Triple H were very limited, very short printed. Panini literally rolled out the red carpet and said, if you are part of the WWE universe of superstars, we want you to sign for our products. As far as I can tell, the only people that they've missed, and there's a number of them, but the main people are Ric Flair, Sable, and The Rock. Like they got Batista, who had never signed WWE cards. They got Stone Cold to sign just an ass ton of cards. They got Undertaker, Triple H, Roman Reigns, like anybody who was anybody in WWE, including ECW guys, like
Mhm.
ECW old. They got Juventud Guerrera to sign cards. Like, come on, like Panini did a great job bringing in a lot of these sort of lesser stars to mix with the big, marquee names. But that main person never came, which is The Rock. I don't think at this point, when you've lost the license, you're probably not
They're not
investing
gonna
much.
no, it'll be 2026 or 2027 before we but I could also see Fanatics making a big splash with that announcement saying they got The Rock when they get the license, like kind of timing it.
Yeah.
But here's what I'm afraid of with the remaining Panini years. I'm afraid that WWE is going to turn into what UFC is.
Mm.
UFC has the same like A-list six fighters signing over and over and over again, and they never expand the roster. It makes me almost think they're going to lose that license too, because they never expand the roster, they never add anybody new, and it's at the point where it's like that you see a sell sheet for Immaculate, and it's like, okay, great. So it's Amanda Nunez and
How is this
Kamara.
different from it?
Like they actually made so for you who don't know who UFC, you have Conor McGregor who hasn't signed anything from since 2017. So Conor McGregor is like UFC's Rock. That's who they need to get to spark interest back in products. But for a time, the best fighter, arguably, I mean, you can always argue these things. The best fighter was Khabib Nurmagomedov, and he just goes by Khabib, so I'm going to call him Khabib. And his autographs and tops were hundreds of dollars, if not thousands of dollars. And I have seen sub $100 Khabib Panini autographs. But this is what happens. They saturate the market. They did it with Blake Griffin. They did it with Kevin Durant. They did it with Kobe Bryant. If Kobe Bryant
Yeah.
hadn't died in that plane crash, he would have 3 more years of autographs and they'd be $75.
Yeah,
So,
that's a really it's a and the whole Michael Jordan situation is very similar too, because Michael Jordan is basketball's rock, right? He hasn't signed since 20. He hasn't signed a pro card. He signed college cards because Upper Deck had that license for a little bit after they lost the basketball license. Like Michael Jordan Bulls autographs haven't been in product since what 2009, 2010.
yeah,
So like those are the types of situations that I think Fanatics buying Panini, Fanatics buying Upper Deck, consolidating the market and getting those exclusive licenses. Although there is rumors that even if they buy Upper Deck, Jordan's not part of it. Like there's a whole thing there. But like the Rock, a Rock Topps Chrome Superfractor autograph, one of
on
one on card, because Topps does their Chrome stuff on card. Panini does Prism on sticker. On card, one of one Rock Superfractor autograph. Like it may not be $126,000, but it's definitely a shit ton of money.
I don't know. That could top the block.
That's a huge card. I mean, like it's. I would love to see it because, like I said, Superfractors are my favorite. Like having that out there is just awesome. Stone Cold on card Superfractor autograph. We got one of them. We got one of them. It was in Transcendent, and it went for not much money. But it's not Topps Chrome. Just like and I think like that's the key here is that it's got to be Topps Chrome, but it's like the Rock in that type of situation is so expensive, and I from what I understand, Topps was close. Like they to the point where they had mock-ups made of Undisputed with the Rock. I know that they exist because they released them in Slam, and
Mhm.
but they were close. The Rock just wanted so much money, and his schedule means that would probably all be stickers. So I think like if Fanatics has the ability, maybe Rock is a partner, maybe they bring all that people in. There's so many possibilities. But
So
the key is
since we're dreaming, since we're dreaming, on card Superfractor Undertaker Rock Austin Triple H quad auto.
yeah, just
These
enormous
things are
potential.
possible, people. These things are absolutely possible when Fanatics takes over. Just I know it sounds like something you might not never ever see, but these things can happen when Fanatics takes over the license. It really, and I don't have any allegiance to Panini. I don't have any allegiance to Topps. I don't have any allegiance to Upper Deck or
But
Leaf
it's
or any.
fun. Like this is what
I
drives us as collectors.
I am gonna talk about whoever has the license now, and we're gonna talk about who's gonna have the license here in about 18 months, or 2 years, give or take.
Right.
So
And Fanatics, and we don't have like I'm excited for Fanatics to come back. I'm excited for Topps to come back because I love what Topps did in the 2013 to
right.
2021. I love those old heritage chrome cards. I love a lot of the stuff that Topps has done over the course of their license. Like there are so many fun things that existed in the Topps world that hasn't been replicated in the Panini world. Now, there's a significant amount of stuff in the 2 years that Panini's had this license that never existed in the Topps world either. Like, that's why I was so excited to at least get some of these hobby standards over these 2 or 3 years that we're going to have, 4 years at the most, where we get the gold prisms, we get the black prisms, we get the
Right.
kabooms, we get all of those things out of the system really quickly. If and let's say Fnatic doesn't buy Panini, this is that situation. We get all of that stuff where we can at least know that they're out there, right? So you can buy the hobby standard, you can buy your color blast, you can buy the things that are part of the hobby lexicon for NBA and NFL. But now it goes back to Topps, but you at least have those immaculate cards with those ridiculous patches. Topps never did anything like that on a consistent basis. It was a lot of matte relics. It was a lot of stuff. Now
Well,
they had fun
it's
stuff.
expensive. It's expensive to do that stuff, and that was another point I wanted to make. I always felt like Topps was more collector friendly on the wallet.
Yeah,
I felt like
absolutely.
you could afford Topps products, you could afford open 4 or 5 boxes, whereas Panini, and this is not a dig. I don't want it to sound like a dig, but Panini was always bigger, better, stronger, faster. Let's see.
Absolutely.
Let's see how expensive we can get. The Eminence cards.
It's a different crowd. Yeah, it's a different crowd.
I'm not impressed by Eminence cards, guys. I mean, like
it's
I'm just
it's
not.
yeah
So
it's
here's a tip for
Not
if
like
anybody,
Transcendent. I'm very impressed by the Transcendent cards. I'm not a huge fan of the other ones.
and this is what I'm going to say. So Eminence, if anybody from Panini is listening, Eminence, when you put those cards in the magnetic holders, put them in a team bag because they come out scratched to shit. Like
Yeah.
those cases are just scratched to shit. And at least Transcendent, they put a little piece of foam or paper between each card, you know? So just because it's that expensive, take care of the product, make it look
Yeah,
better. But, you
and that
know,
I think that's always the complaint is that Topps has this reputation of being much more collector friendly. I mean, there's things that Topps has done that have been gigantic fuck ups, and Panini, when they fuck up really fucking big. So I mean,
yeah,
like that's the issue, and I think like I never associated with Panini products in NBA or NFL. Like I was never a fan of what Panini was doing because I love Topps Chrome. I like on card autographs. Panini
mhm,
tends to be more sticker focused. Like they tend to be more base card focused, which is because I was always an autograph collector before a base card collector. Like I grew up collecting autographs, not sports cards. So, like when you have on card autographs from Topps being the standard as they were for almost 4 years, like that was huge to me. Then flipping over to Prism, where everything's a sticker, go to Select, everything's a sticker. You had to wait for Impeccable before you got any real valuable on card autograph again. Like those are the types of things that really didn't sit well with me, but it was still fun because it's like it's just the stuff that's coming out every week. There were more products and all these other things. Does that mean that I won't have fun when it goes back to Fanatics? Absolutely not. I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking
yeah,
forward to having a lot of this stuff back in the main sort of idea of what a wrestling card is. I love Topps Chrome. It's my favorite product. I love Transcendent. It's one of my favorite products. Like the cards that are on my shelf right now, a good portion of them are Topps. There's a growing number of them that are Panini as well. So I mean, it's good to have that mix, and if we can get both back because one's acquired, even better. But this understanding that Topps coming back to wrestling cards and bringing back this cheap thrills that was existing when I started collecting wrestling cards in 2017, I think that is a complete misconception. I think the license is too expensive to go back to that way. I think the
no,
collecting base has changed
no.
to go back to that way. We're never going to see 2017, 2018 again, where you could buy a box of wrestling cards for $40, a case for 340,
Those
$375.
days are gone.
I think those days are gone. And it wasn't Panini that really caused that issue. It's the hobby in general going the direction it did over the boom period. Do you agree?
Yeah, 100%. And I think I said that on a video with we talked with Jameson about that.
Mm-hmm.
When Fanatics takes over, we're not going back to $45 boxes, guys. They might have base brand tops. It'll be $125 a box. That's just,
Mm-hmm.
and that's where it'll start. So it's going to be expensive. They're going to have to pay for the license, But I think that if they acquire both licenses, then we're looking at so much. I mean, just a buffet, of stuff. What I want to see is the people who poo-pooed Panini but touted Tops, how they're gonna feel about Tops at Panini prices.
That is a great question. And of course, now we're speculating because we haven't seen the sheets. We haven't seen anything about what's going to happen when Topps comes back. We're speculating here because we do know that the deal to acquire the WWE merchandise license was gigantic. Trading cards
Right.
was a part of that. Just a humongous deal. So we also know that the Panini deal was humongous as well, and it more than tripled the existing Topps license that was reported in Beckett and a few other sites. So I mean, like, here's the thing, guys. Like, I love wrestling cards. I'm a big fan of wrestling cards, as you can probably tell, because I've been spent hours and hours and hours making content. But I will tell you, the days of 2017 in this hobby, whether it's basketball, football, wherever, are gone. Like it's just not going to come
And
back.
I would I would argue that we are gonna see a pump. I don't want to use the word pump. Yeah, I'm gonna use the word pump. We're gonna see a pump for 2026 Topps Chrome that's gonna rival 2022 Prism.
That's possible, especially with how many people have been longing for
Yeah,
that product. Yeah.
and I think you're gonna see distributors or whoever's distributing it. It's going to be expensive, guys. It's going to be an expensive product. I also think it's going to be a banging product too. I think the first year of Fanatics WWE across the board is going to be something to behold. I really do. I think
Yeah.
they're going to come in and making a splash. They're going to make a mark. I was watching a sports card radio video the other day, and he goes through all the market trends, and WWE wrestling is the only one that's up right now. It's up 9% across the board.
Hold on a second. That index is horrendous. It includes those 2019 Topps products boxes. Like, it's mainly a bunch of old cards that aren't. I'm like, that index that is used from Card Ladder. I've talked with them. It needs to be updated. There's nothing from the modern side of things that really determine the true value of the wrestling card hobby. But that being said, I don't think the sentiment is wrong. Like, I think the overall WWE market is undeniably growing.
Oh,
Um,
it's what I'm saying is the market's up.
yeah,
I would say
absolutely.
if you compare WWE to all the other sports, WWE is up.
That I agree with. That I agree with. I also think that there is a really important thing to discuss here, and that is Fanatics now owns a breaking platform. And when Panini first came to the hobby, Whatnot wasn't a thing. When they first came to wrestling cards, Whatnot was still a year off. So wrestling on Whatnot and on Loop have been a gigantic success, almost more than any other sport. There are people who just only exist on those platforms. So if Fanatics breaking platform, which I think is called Fanatics Live, they've got a Twitter account now. They're going to be starting soon. If that is going to drive the type of interest in sales that Whatnot has driven for Panini, all bets are off. Like, the amount of product that is moved on Whatnot for wrestling is immeasurable. It's what has driven 2023 Prism to the heights that 2022 really never was able to achieve long term, because people are on there all the time, every day, breaking product. That's why you're seeing all of the 101s hit the way that they do very early on. Now, if Fanatics breaking platform catches fire, and there's a definite probability that it will, all bets are off, because that element alone was not part of the original launch of Panini's WWE license. It will almost assuredly be that for the launch of the Fanatics license.
Do we know if Panini or Fanatics has made a determination if they're going to supply breakers or not?
I don't know. They've made partnerships with breakers, but I don't know what that necessarily relates to
Because if they're
overall.
the only breaking platform in town, I mean, it's almost you're talking about monopoly here. They're just
Yeah,
monopolizing almost every facet of the
it's
hobby.
it's a consolidation plan that really is taking shape before our eyes. We're seeing
You
it
say
weekly.
consolidation, I say monopoly.
But that's what it is. Like, that's what consolidation is, right? We
Yeah,
know that the monopoly is a consolidation of a market, and I think when we're looking at this from the perspective of, like, does this encroach on any antitrust sort of situations? It might. Like, I don't know yet. There could be lawsuits when these things eventually take their final form. I haven't even reached my final form yet. Like, this, when this happens, there's going to be a lot of fighting, and we have yet to get to that point because the licenses haven't taken effect. When they do, I'm really excited to see how this all goes down. All
yeah,
right,
definitely.
just to wrap this up, any final thoughts here before we sort of call this a day?
No, just I mean, I say no, then I say but. I just think that unlike Panini, we need to approach Fanatics with a little more open mindedness.
Mm.
Okay. Just have a little more open mindedness before we start jumping on there on social media and screaming about
Right.
tops this, tops that, transcendent redemptions, blah, blah, blah. Let's just see we, the world reacts way too fast before all the facts are out there. So let's
Yeah.
just pump the
And a
brakes. We got
lot
a
of,
couple of
but
years.
in a lot
We
of
got a
this
couple of
video
years.
was us speculating. Like, a lot of this was us speculating. But that's why this is so much fun.
Right.
Like, like, we like to talk about these things because I know these conversations are happening all over the hobby. I'm really excited to see it as it sort of transitions from speculation into reality. That's going to happen
Right.
very quickly here. So keep stay tuned to this channel as especially as we get into the middle of the year here, as some of the big hobby events sort of start taking shape. There's going to be a lot of news coming out of the national convention, not just for wrestling cards, but for every card. And I think this is usually the time when things really get going in terms of like newsworthiness. So excited, stay tuned here. We'll be on with Tony or Paul if something really big goes down. We'll be on a lot talking about things leading up to a lot of those things. Subscribe, comment, like, all of those things. Follow us on social media. Engage with us there. I'm at WWE Gelman on Instagram, at SC Uncensored on Twitter. Ryan, tell them where they can find you.
Instagram non-sports showcase. Hit me up there.
Awesome. And his collection is just pretty good. Remember that.
It's just
So,
it's just kind of good. Kind of good.
yeah.
I haven't even speaking of final forms, I haven't shown some of the really, really good stuff yet. So
Yeah, you got to start doing that, man. All right, it was. We'll keep driving content here. A lot of stuff yet to come.